Special education for the dates listed, and accept and order filed the minutes of Committee on Preschool Special Education for the dates listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so Amanda, Heidi, all in favor?
Discussion.
Okay, we do have one discussion.
Yes, my vote, I have to move to abstain on the policy.
From
Yeah,
last month.
yeah.
Got it.
From last month.
Yep,
So-
you got it meant to be
yeah.
accurate.
You had intended, you did abstain, it just wasn't recorded in the record.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
With that one amendment, then
Yep.
vote.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, do we have a motion? We'll redo that. Do we have a motion? So moved by, okay, Megan, second by Heidi, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We also have minutes of the special meeting of December 1st, 2003. Do we have a motion?
So,
Seconded by? Mike, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay, do we have anybody for public comment? Anybody? Okay. And that moves us to our committee section. Personnel, Mr. Canini?
It's pretty much normal for this time of the year, but there are a couple of highlights. There are two retirements. We'd like Shelley Hayes and Patricia Gates. I would like to thank them for their time with the district. Congratulations to Susan Bishop, too, for her 10-year appointment, February 25th. And James Wheaton was appointed as a 4-year probationary appointment to social studies. That's all.
Does anybody have any questions for this?
I have one quick question, and I apologize, I didn't ask ahead of time. The Skylar Shaw rescinding his appointment with the rec, what was the reason?
He just didn't
Didn't want to do it?
chose not to do
Okay,
it.
okay, perfect.
And Heidi, you had a question too.
I did, I always do. So, I think I'm not reading it right when it says that Catherine Scarcelletta was rescinding her resignation, and then it goes on to state her resignation?
It was just the appointment from last month. I just copied that, and then I'm stating she's rescinding it. She's not retiring now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. And then what is the Schedule B additional appointment?
It's a section of the teacher's contract, HFTA contract.
Okay.
It lists all of those other items, the coaching items, the clubs, the.
Okay, perfect. Because I was confused because there was no Schedule A prior to it, and I was like, what am I reading? I don't know. And the financial support specialist, is that a position we just added, or is it the same person? So why are they
It's
being
Wanda.
appointed
Which-
if it's already
So-
someone who's in
Who is
place?
it?
So Wanda,
Oh,
so she's our account payable person. She was appointed provisionally. She tested in, then she had a probationary
Like a civil
appointment.
service exam?
Civil service
Okay.
exam. So now we're permanently appointing her because she did the 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Same thing with Mary Kay, is listed there as well.
And that was my
Brett.
next question, so that's all I have. Thank you, sorry.
And Brett too, right?
And Brett is the
And
same.
Brett.
Yep,
We'll have a lot of congratulations for folks here.
Yes.
that's okay. I got you.
Good? Anybody else? Okay, so by consent, that carries.
And congratulations to all those,
Yes.
all those people on there. There's
including
some,
your teacher from the special meeting.
yeah, including the young lady we met on in the special meeting. She came in to do paperwork. That is a high energy person that's going into grade 1.
Lauren Ketchum.
Lauren Ketching, thanks Mike for giving me the name. But she was in, she is so excited to be back at Hudson Falls. So congratulations to you, Mrs. Truing. It's awesome. Good for our kids.
Okay, so that moves us to athletics. Mr. Fitzgerald.
All right, we did not have a meeting, but I do have a few items to report on. So every team in the fall season was named to the Scholar Athlete Team. I believe that is a first for Hudson Falls.
That's awesome.
Great.
So congratulations to all the student athletes there. Just to let you guys know, to receive this recognition, team GPA has to be 75% of the roster having a greater than or equal to 90 GPA. So
That's great.
it's impressive. Of that, we had 80 varsity athletes who earned a 90 or above GPA, and they received Scholar Athlete pins with their honor roll certificates at the high school assembly. So congratulations to them. Note on the first season of the football merger with Fort Edward, it went very well. They've agreed to renew that for next year. Did bolster our numbers quite a bit with the modified team. So we were able to field a 7th and an 8th grade team for the first time in over 5 years, which was fantastic, and they did pretty well. All winter sports are fully operational at this point, and an upcoming wrestling tournament, the Chicanis Wrestling Tournament, is going to be Saturday, December 16th. So that's kind of a big one for Hudson Falls. A lot of people, a lot of cars.
Be a busy place.
Yes, it
For
will.
sure.
And we do not have a meeting in December due to the holiday.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. That moves us to audit. Mrs. Grimaldi?
Okay, so this is, I'll start with the treasurer's report. This is for the month of October. In the general fund, we had 4.2 million, almost 4.3 million in receipts and 6.8 in disbursements, leaving us a balance of 5.8 in the general fund, and a total cash on hand of $11.3 million. So we're in good shape there. The extracurricular account balances, there's, some nice activity in here. There was some really good fundraisers that the kids did. So the Corlears, the music department, did a donut fundraiser for a trip to Virginia, and that went really well. There's $11,000 in receipts there. And then the middle school student council did a candy fundraiser that also went really well. So there is actually a payment there for the candy that they had to buy ahead of time for that. So a little bit of activity there. And then we'll start seeing gate fees or whatever too as basketball season is starting up. The monthly bills are in the packet. If anyone has any questions, let Mr. Palenzi know. We do have a budget transfer in there that we do not need to vote on, but it is because it's under our $25,000 limit, or it is $25,000, so it's under that threshold. So we don't, but it's just in there for information. Or there were some iPads that were purchased. And we have a need for approval for primary school disposal of textbooks. That is in there. It's 94 copies of some readers and 24 copies of some individual stories. Those are just obsolete and no longer being used. And then I think if Mr. Palenzi would take the corrective action plan from the audit.
I will, thank you. So each year after we have our external audit completed, we have to do a corrective action plan for any citations that we have in that audit. There were 3 items that last month the auditor discussed here. One was unappropriated fund balance in excess of 4%, which were in excess by $772,000. So the corrective action plan for that is we're going to move some to the cafeteria to offset some losses that we've had in the cafeteria, $472,000. Looking to fund our capital reserve for construction, which will take place in the next the budget vote for $100,000, and to offset positions previously funded by federal funds. As we're starting to see those drop off, we're going to use $200,000 towards that. Which will accommodate the $772,000. The second item was general ledger adjustments. This was simply at the end of each month. We do have some accounts that could be in the negative. With prior auditors, they would have us do it at the end of the year to clean everything up. These auditors are looking for it quarterly to be done, so that's no problem. We're going to do that. It's clean, and we've already started moving forward on that. And the last item was equipment and real property. If you recall, the auditor said since we bought playground equipment with money from the federal government, at some point in time, it needs to be listed. It needs to be listed as on our fixed asset report, which we have Questar 3 BOCES coming in to do in the next month or so. We've scheduled it. They're all lined up to come. And the purpose of that is if we ever sell that playground equipment, we do have to offer the money back to the federal government. So I don't foresee that happening, but we do have Questar lined up to make sure it hits the fixed asset report. We're moving in that direction, so we're set there. So we would just need the board to approve this, and then what happens is that we submit it to the state education department to give them what the plan is for this year, so.
If we ever have to give that money back, Kevin, I'd love to try and get the President of the United States to come out and get that $48 check. So make sure we remember that later on. Thank you for the work on that. And Mary Kay as well.
And
Set.
I think that's it, yeah.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we just need a motion to approve the October treasurer's report. So moved by Mike, seconded by
Second.
Amanda, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. So we do have two resolutions. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Hudson Falls Central School District approves the corrective action plan for the 2022-2023 external audit from MMB and Co. Do we have a motion? So moved by Mike, seconded by
Second.
Crystal, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. And the last resolution, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Hudson Falls Central School District approves the primary school disposal of textbook request. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So by Crystal, seconded by Megan, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay. That moves us into transportation. Dr. Steele?
Pretty straightforward report again this month. You can read the DOT report right there, the trip report's right there. The good news is we did get a driver back. And we also, if you guys have seen, been by the bus garage, we have a bus out inside there with a big sign on. I guess that's created some attention, so a couple of promising leads for people looking to join our district from that. But generally, I think we're heading in the right direction with drivers, so hopefully that continues for us. We have one bus that's inoperable. You can read why right there. And as usual, there's our fuel prices for November.
Any questions for Dr. Steele? Okay, that concludes transportation and moves us to buildings and grounds. Mrs. Barley?
So we met on the 27th of November and went over based on the building condition report, what were priorities for the district. And it turns out that there's a significant price tag for what is essentially routine maintenance items that needs to be done. So we have another meeting scheduled for next week on the 19th, working through the numbers as far as, trying to minimize any potential tax increases, but balancing that with necessary work that needs to be done, and also, projects that are going to move the district forward, benefit the students. How do you balance all that with the budget? That's what we're working on at this point. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I think that you nailed it. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
The considerable price tag is worth noting.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
This is the newest building conditions.
just
that
completed.
came out. Okay.
Correct. It has not even been submitted to the state of New York yet. There's still some finalizing that has to happen on Steve Wickman's end. Yes, ma'am.
So, any of that like routine maintenance stuff that we can throw under I think right now it's $100,000, but there's been lobbying to increase it to $250,000.
Correct.
I don't know what the title of that.
Yeah, a capital outlay project.
So can any of that go under that and take it off of the capital project?
Yes.
Or do we already have plans for the capital outlay?
So we did have plans. In my last update, I had mentioned that because our work was completed on time, we were able to release some money to cover the window film, the intruder-resistant window film that we had slated for the capital. Kevin and I spent some time this morning on Microsoft Teams, a video conference with Steve Wickman, talking about what other capital outlay projects could we do, identifying an item inside of the large ticket that was given to us for routine maintenance and repairs, and some upgrades for children.
Yes.
There's certainly some of those in there. So we're trying to identify a couple of those. Kevin gave Steve his marching orders, and we're expecting to hear back on that. And Kevin and I haven't talked again this afternoon, but he was going to engage Dave in the conversation, obviously, as well.
And then I
Yes.
have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So, all of this, there was a lot to look at, so maybe I missed it. But how are the talks going with Carrie Warner about the full-day UPK? And at some point, are they going to be like, listen, your time has run out, you have to change to full day? And if so, is that something that we need to think about in the capital project in terms of we don't have space for that?
Right, so it's not on our priority list. It was a discussion both at Buildings and Grounds, and it was a discussion at the meeting with Kerry Warner. That was last week now, Chris, or maybe in the last 2 weeks, let me say that, in the last 2 weeks. So we did bring it up. I know that Mike was on many calls and emails with me over the last couple of months. So I don't think it's a no, you can't have half day. They have raised the bar for us to be approved for that waiver by saying that the state's looking for everyone to go to full day pre-K. Kerry was very interested in them saying you should close out students possibly so that you can do full day. So there's more to come in that conversation. She asked for some data. Kevin and Dave were working through some of that data because it points back to needing more staff and more space. And more space means we need to build something. And we weren't approved to build something previously. So we had we had a very long conversation. She came out to see the ag program and the kids, and we did do that. That was 20 minutes of her 1.5 to 2 hour time here. So we talked about all of those things leading up to it.
Thank you.
You got it. And did I miss anything, Crystal? You were there, and Vince, you were there. Did I miss any?
Any other questions? Buildings and Grounds? Okay. That moves us to policy. Mrs. Lansman?
Okay, you can see we've got a couple things on here to talk about. Under first reads, I am assuming because the policy number was removed, but the state level changes to the policy in Policy Pulse. We have some notes down here that is just playing, thank you, is just playing catch up with internal work that we've already done. So we responded to the state level changes this past year, and then the red line version is our updated version that includes our internal details specific to this district, correct?
That's correct.
And then we have 7618 is an existing policy talking about the use of timeout rooms, and it's a suggested deletion from
Because this replaces.
our, yep, because that 7350 will replace that. So that's one thing on here. And then you'll see we have that needs approval, the workplace violence policy statement, which we did discuss at length during our policy committee meeting this month. So notes for you guys, the workplace violence statement is required to be in place by January by New York State, which is why we're voting on it tonight. And Kevin and the safety committee, which is meeting tomorrow, will have more work to do to follow up in the coming year with that. But is there anything else that you want to talk about with that particular thing, or?
Do you want to talk about some of the requirements that happen besides the policy statement, which we
So basically.
need tonight?
So basically what will happen is after we get the policy statement through tonight, we also have to have a committee to do a risk assessment, which represents all the different units. The managerial confidential, we'll also have our safety specialist on that, myself, and Dave McKeegan, Director of Buildings and Grounds. So what the attempt there is there's basically a blueprint on how we have to do this, where we have to recognize all possible potentials for workplace violence. And it's not only physical violence, it could be verbal,
Just workplace violence.
also. So, hold on, there we go. So we're gonna get that stakeholder group together, hopefully by the end of this week or early next week. I'm gonna send out a meeting request on that. We're gonna collect all that data, that information, and put that together. We also have to make sure that at the end of each year, we have to post any situations that did occur. We already do that with workplace injuries. So it'll be a very similar format to that, but it will be separate. In moving forward, we've got to maintain the data collection. We have to have a form that individuals can fill out when an incident happens. We already have something very similar to that with a workplace injury form. It's going to be a separate form, but it's going to be very similar so that we can track these. But the big thing is after the risk assessment, basically we're going to find out, we're going to list all the risks for all the different areas, from teaching to maintenance, all across the board, bus drivers, all across the board. And then we're also going to list the mitigating factors that we have in place. And then if something does happen, what occurs then with the outcome. So it's going to take some time. It's a lot of things that we already do, but it's going to kind of be formalized in a document, basically, a very big document. So
Thank you.
And that's all that there is on the policy committee.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we just need a motion to approve the workplace violence policy statement.
So moved.
Okay, by Heidi, seconded by?
Second.
Mike, all in favor? Opposed? That carries.
I just want to say thanks to Mike, Justine, and the principals for having Hudson Falls ahead on that timeout room. Things that were changing, we knew it was happening. Justine was proactive, came in. There's a considerable amount of work that occurs. So I want to say they happen to be sitting in front of us tonight, so it works out. There's a lot of work to make sure all that paperwork is done and completed properly. So thanks to all of them. And again, Mike and Justine for being ahead of that.
Yep. Can I just also add Erin McMahon? Justine would want us to mention Erin McMahon, send thanks her way as well.
Got it. And I also want to make sure, so I want to, and Eric McMahon as well, thanks for her work on the timeout room policy. And I also want to thank Mike and Kevin both for and Mary Kay for their work on the workplace violence. Mary Kay was on the webinar the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, the same one I was on. And after that webinar, there was a lot of work to do very quickly so that we could have that ready for policy committee and then for the board tonight. So a lot happened really fast to make us be in compliance. So thanks for letting me speak.
No problem.
That's all you get.
That's it. Okay, so that moves us to advocacy. Mrs. Anderson.
We did not have a meeting this month, and I think that Dan has later in the superintendent update to talk about the advocacy that he took part in this month. And then I'm not sure who went to the ASBA dinner in November. It was not me.
I was not able to go
Yep.
right at the end.
Neither was I.
Okay.
Damien left.
Oh, so Mr. Switzer did attend in my place. Sorry.
Yeah, oh, hey, it is what it is, right? So I just can't report on it because I wasn't there.
No.
And that's all.
And I'll wait and talk during my presentation.
Yes.
Okay. So any questions? Okay. So that brings us to new business. Did you want to talk about the field trip request at all, or?
Yeah, so you have the field trip request in there. We had approved one earlier for the high school band to go to Virginia. Did I get that right, to Virginia?
Yes.
Middle school put that in to go to Six Flags New England. They'll go down, they'll perform in I think in a competition, then they'll get to spend a day in the park. They are raising funds to do so. They have a plan to offset the cost for individuals who are not able to take care of that themselves. So they are working through all that. Everybody who submits one of those knows that that's exactly what I'm going to ask for. So Kelly, make sure they know that's exactly what I'm going to ask for.
So we make it mandatory that they get the insurance on the trip, right? After all of the hullabaloo with COVID, that's like,
Not to my knowledge, we don't require
do
that
they
they
have
get the insurance.
on this trip in case it gets canceled?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. There's still information that's not available. They're asking for it to be approved before they move forward with any
Oh,
more
I see.
planning.
Okay. My
But
bad.
we do not require them to get the insurance.
Will they have to buy, I wonder if they have to buy the tickets ahead of time, or if they buy them before?
I think they buy them ahead. It's part of the, if you are in the competition, then you have the tickets to go into the venue.
Is there a risk there that if something happens,
Yeah, we can ask that, I can ask that question of them, what happens if it gets canceled. I saw nothing about trip insurance in any of the paperwork that came through or that's attached for you folks.
Okay.
And just what you're thinking of is for several years, we required if you were going to France or Spain
Yep.
to get the trip insurance. And it wasn't for COVID, it was in case there was a situation happening in that area where
Okay.
we weren't going to send the kids over.
Oh, like a safety issue
A safety
or-
issue or
Sure.
something going on. That was the one time that we required for trip insurance.
Yeah, I recommended the board to approve it. I can follow up with that question
Oh, I'm
that you
not
asked.
suggesting we don't approve it, I thought that we had, and you're right, it was one of the international trips, and I thought that they had said that it was just their common practice of insuring the trip. but this is not the same thing. Yep.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Okay, so be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Hudson Falls Central School District approves the middle school band and orchestra field trip to Six Flags New England. Do we have a motion?
So
Moved by Meg, second by Mike. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries. Mr. Ward.
Yeah, so a few things. I'll try to be brief. That's my weakness, right? Rural school boards, our string quartet did a fantastic job performing in one of their statewide conferences. It was held in Saratoga, so it worked out. They'd reached out about a month ago looking for schools to perform. In the end, it was our string quartet and the Queensberry Select Chorus. They have a better name for it than that, but those are the two groups that were there. Well received. The kids did a great job. Mrs. Hogan and I both went down to see the kids, and Mr. Stevenson down there. He was like, "Why are you guys here?" We said, "We're here to see you guys." Very appreciative of our presence down there. So we got to see a great show, and they did a nice job. I just want to make sure it said publicly, we do have the tenure reviews, progress towards tenure reviews for teachers occurring during executive session tonight. The principals are here, they're ready to roll, so you'll get to hear that. So I'm glad that all board members are here. I want to thank folks for coming out for the special board meeting. That allowed us to get that teacher released from her current position to come and be here with us only 2 days after the holiday break, where if we'd waited till now, it would have been 10 days after the holiday break, which is a big deal when you're talking about 5, 6-year-olds, 5 and 6-year-olds. Lobby day. The lobby day got switched to virtual on us at the day before that it happened, but last week, me and 5 other superintendents were on Google Meets or Teams or Zooms, whichever they were using, to talk about the advocacy priorities for the Wish-We BOCES. Those meetings went well, well received. Folks seem upbeat about the budget, although we try to be cautiously optimistic till we see those January numbers, as Mr. Ponce would want me to make sure I said when we talk about the budget. We need to see those numbers. I hope that they are right, and we should be optimistic about things, but we'll wait and see. BOCES Facilities Committee, I'm on a committee that's reviewing the BOCES facilities, both over on Dix Avenue, Southern Adirondack, and down at the Myers Center in Saratoga. BOCES is kind of at a crossroads, so I just want to bring the board up to speed a little bit. They're looking at those two facilities and trying to decide if they should be putting the money into those two facilities or talking about doing something different, maybe building a combined facility on one site to service all kids somewhere centrally located. So just want to put that out there, that you'll probably hear more about that. We visited the Myers Center today for about 2.5 hours. I hadn't been inside that building in a couple of years. And I will tell you, there's a considerable amount of work there. I think they said they had $47 million in basically maintenance and repairs without doing anything that's really forward-facing for kids. I don't think that the Dix Avenue site, I think it's in better shape. But in the end, you'll be hearing about what should we support, renovating those facilities or doing something in another spot with one big facility that could serve our programs the same, differently, or better. And I don't know if you have anything else from the BOCES board membership that you want to share on that item while we're right here.
So in November, we actually had our meeting at the Dix Avenue site so that we could tour the culinary program. It would surprise me if the Dix Avenue site was relocated because they just poured a ton of money to update the kitchens, and if you have a chance to go check it out, I highly recommend it. It's gorgeous. And I love to cook and bake, so I kind of want to bake there and cook there now. Use their big mixers. But that was a topic at the, before I committed to being on the audit committee, I sat in on a bunch of committees, and that night I sat in on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. And there were also implications that if you go down East LaBarge and then you cross over the street, one of those side streets has a little BOCES building. That
LeClaire.
It's lacrosse. Lacrosse.
Oh, lacrosse,
Yep.
sorry.
So, because it encompasses so many counties, BOCES had to, declare one of those counties for their civil service stuff. And so part of the discussion that we had at Buildings and Grounds was also that if they do choose to relocate that, they can still hold on to their Washington County kind of membership and not change that all over again. So there are a lot of moving pieces to this. I think they're probably going to end up doing a lot of data collection and research before they make any decisions, unless you have information I don't have.
Nope, that's where we are. I will tell you that the Meyer Center for sure needs a lot of work
Yeah,
after that tour today. And we are going to tour Dix Avenue.
I haven't toured Meyer Center yet.
We're going to tour the committee after the holiday. That's the plan. Two things that aren't on my list, but I want to speak to them because they're good things. Our Coraliers performed with the Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra this past weekend, and they did a fantastic job. I was not there, but I did see the video. They were great, and I was able to speak with the Glens Falls superintendent today, who just said that how inspiring the group was and a great representation of the Hudson Falls High School. So congrats to those young people and to Mrs. Havern on that. And lastly, I just want to put one more plug out. Tomorrow night's concert, which is at 7 o'clock in the refurbished auditorium, we'll be dedicating. The kids are great. We're going to see great performances. We're also doing a very short dedication ceremony to dedicate the auditorium to the good work and lifetime work of Joyce Irwin, who served the district for over 40 years. So just wanted to put that on everybody's radar and make sure I said it at a public meeting.
Is that 7 or 7:30?
7:30.
Oh, did I get that? 7:30?
I think 7:30.
All right. Sorry about that. I'm going to be here at 7, so. Or probably before that. That's what I had.
Perfect. Okay, so with that being done, we do have a need for executive session for tenure review, as Mr. Ward said. We do not have a reason to come back into regular session for any votes, so that will conclude our regular session meeting. I just need a motion to enter executive session.
Second.
Crystal, second by Heidi, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.